Pickle, our usual semi-weekly Penn State football video here on PennLive.com. Journey Brown, Penn State 2017 commit from Meadville High School, won his second straight PIAA sprinting gold in the 100-meter dash, broke a 32-year-old Pennsylvania State record doing it in 10.43 seconds, which got us to thinking maybe we need a little bit of a refresher on Journey Brown as a football recruit, because clearly the kid can run. Clearly the kid has run wild on the football field, and it just begs the question all over again, why wasn't he more highly acclaimed as a recruit? He mentioned to us a few months ago that he had some great issues, so that's part of the issue. Part of it is where he's located in Pennsylvania is not exactly heavy on foot traffic, but it doesn't change the fact, I think, that this kid can be a really good football player no matter what his roots are, no matter how many stars he has.
I completely agree with you, Dustin. I think there were a couple things. He's very upfront about the grade issue and academic issues he had, and he called it an advanced form of senioritis is how he kind of refers to it, where he just didn't really feel like putting the work in, so he didn't. And then guess what? His teachers, his coaches, and college coaches said to him, "We want you to play football for us, but we can't take you with the grades you have." So he put in a lot of work. He got that all squared away. And now his big focus is telling kids younger than him that, hey, don't put yourself in this position because it's not very fun. I think the other thing, too, is that Meadville's offense, I think some probably viewed it as perhaps a little bit gimmicky and a little bit of a system. They viewed him as a little bit of a system back, which I don't think is fair, but I think that obviously with the way his recruitment went, I think that was probably part of it along with the academic stuff. When schools figured out how good he was, though, he's a legit 5'11", about 200 pounds, and I don't think people realize that looking at his film either, and he has a little bit of room to fill out still. So you put all that stuff together, Penn State got a steal here. There's no question about it. And steal in the recruiting process doesn't mean they're always going to work out, but when you can get a kid like this late in the game, especially when you don't have a glaring need for a running back in the class, you've sort of won the recruiting territory and the recruiting battle in that one, and Penn State did as far as I'm concerned.
I felt like Penn State was in a little bit of a position where they could gamble some, quote unquote, on a less established running back, somebody that they didn't have to put in 18 or 24 months of groundwork just to get them to commit. Journey Brown was interesting, was available late in the process. James Franklin came in and scooped him up. And to me, he's just a forgotten guy in this class. DJ Brown is another guy who's a forgotten guy in this class. And it's just because, you know, the class is so good up top, it just makes Journey Brown look like not a good football player, and he is one. And it's interesting what his role could be, because he does have good hands out of the backfield. He could be a factor in the return game, and he's going to slot in on that depth chart. He's going to be arriving later at Penn State later next month. And another question that has come up since all this is, could he end up running track and field too at Penn State?
He said the option hasn't necessarily presented itself to him yet, but if it was presented to him, he'd certainly consider it. I think the big thing for him is that with his noted school issues, he's going to really focus on two things, and that's bulking up back to where he was before track season and getting a good start on the academic side of things. So those two things are going to make him a pretty busy guy all summer long. And then in the fall, if you add potentially playing to that mix, it gets even more complicated. I think he probably would be pretty interested in trying it. I just don't know if maybe he's ready for it just yet, but later on in his college career, certainly, and clearly his speed would be very well received, I'm sure, by the Penn State track and field coaching staff. Something to watch for sure.
Here's the moral of the story. If you had forgotten about Journey Brown going into the state track and field championships, don't do it any longer. He'll be arriving